Yo, what's going on, guys? So welcome to part 1 of the toggle build mechanic. And just to get a quick little side note out of the way real quick, obviously this is in Blueprint, but I'm gonna get the C++ version out within the next week and a half or so. I've been just really busy, especially with my my other side project and of course school, and so that's been, both of those have been kind of eating up a lot of my time. But anyways, enough with that. Let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, so first things first, of course you want to make some input. I just have the basic standard input as of right now. I have my interact set to E and all the other standard. I'll be coming back to make another input action as well later on, but anyways, for the time being, I'm going to create a new collision, a new object channel, pardon me. Then after that, I'm going to be making a new blueprint interface, the widget, and then I'm going to be creating the build, I guess the build blueprint, the buildable blueprint, which of course can be a master. You can just have the children blueprints inherit from it, and obviously it worked perfectly fine. And set up some values in there, and then move on to the character blueprint, and then set up some values in there, and get everything all set up real quick. So with all the initial input out of the way and all the setup, we're going to be drawing out from event tick, and we're going to be getting the line trace for objects, and of course that's where all the new object channel comes into play. And essentially, when the player interacts, or at least when it shoots out, of course, the 250 units, or I think it's units. I think don't hold me to that. But, of course, we're gonna set the interact range variable to true or false, depending, of course, if it does overlap with that or not. And we're just gonna be running a check and then we're gonna be casting to the buildable actor, and then you're gonna be creating a function in there which will show the UI or not, depending, of course, if it's overlapping or not. And yeah. Alright, now we're going to be making another active blueprint, and this one is just going to be for managing all the buildables in the level. And I just found it a little bit better to do it this way, as far as for taking and just looping over all of them, rather than just taking every single individual buildable on the level. So basically, but I mean, it's just a sum up of what we're essentially going to be doing. But from begin play, I'm gonna pull out, I'm going to cast to the player, and then from there I'm gonna go back and create another or we're going to create a dispatcher, which basically will communicate if we toggled build mode or not. But then but before that, we're gonna get all the buildables on the map and store it into a variable, and basically from there we're just going to be running a loop on tick, and just going to be toggling the visibility depending on how far, or if the character is in range of the buildable or not. Alright, so I just forgot two things. The first one was to add the widget component back in the buildable blueprint, and the second one was to create the widget for that. So, but after I make that, I will get back on the working on the tick function in the manager class. From there, I'm going to be opening up the blueprint for the buildable again, and from begin play, I originally set the visibility for the static mesh to false only, and then later I went back and set for the UI, set the visibility to false for the UI as well. So just to save you a little bit of time there. But from there, I pull off from there and cast to the player again, and I get the event dispatcher, the on build mode activate. Call that, and then from there I'm running a check to see if the object is visible or not, and if it is, well, basically the visible variable is basically checking to see if it's built or not. And obviously if it is, we only want to toggle when we go in and out of toggle mode, we only want to toggle the or toggle our build mode. We only want to toggle the UI specifically and not the whole thing. But obviously, if it's not visible, then we want to toggle both the UI and the static mesh, as well as the collision for it as well, which I'll use via a select node, which you'll see in a bit. Alright, now this is one of the most important steps, otherwise your line trace really won't work properly at all, but is to really set the collision presets. So obviously you want to go to the static mesh, go to the collision presets, set it to custom, and of course the object type to the buildable channel or whatever you had it as, and of course set everything to ignore by default, and that's just, you know, for sure you don't wanna screw that up for sure. Alright, so from here we're going to be going into the blueprint widget for the buildable, and then we're going to be creating a event dispatcher, the build complete, and then once we get all that done, we're going to be going right back into the blueprint for the buildable, and then we're going to be calling it. Alright, so from here I'm going to be creating a custom event named onBuilt. And when I get this all done and finished up, I'm going to add this event into the show widget function as well at the end. Anyways, from there I'm going to be pulling off from there and going to be calling the event dispatcher from the UI. And basically what's this just going to be doing is just setting the visible variable to true, and just going to be setting the material and the collision as well, and just saying all that good stuff. So of course when we toggle our build mode, it's not going to toggle the actual visibility of the mesh itself, only the UI. Alright, well that's just about it for part 1. Apologies in advance if I didn't explain anything too well. I just tried to get the main gist of what I was doing across as best as I could. But if you do run into any issues at all, just of course leave a comment. But I would prefer DM me on Twitter. You'd probably honestly get a faster response out of me since I'm always on Twitter, and Twitter's just more direct. But of course, you know, you can always leave a comment and I'll get to it, of course. But until then, you all take care and stay safe.